What's up everyone, my name is Nick, and as some of you might know, I have been living in Malaysia for quite a while. I've lived here for 11 years and it's kind of become my home. I don't see any other place in the world as my home as I do Malaysia. Well, perhaps my little hometown in the Netherlands, that is also still my home. But yes, Malaysia has become my home over these past 11 years and I love living here. So there are more pros than cons about living in Malaysia, but I thought it'd be interesting to share both the positive reasons why I love living in Malaysia, but also the things that I'm having a little bit of trouble with on a daily basis or once in a while. So I'll also mention a couple of cons about living in Malaysia. Now, without any further ado, let's just get into this video. This is Global Gibbon. Now, before we really get into the pros and cons, I'd like to let you know that I live in Kuching. And Kuching is located in the state of Sarawak, which is actually the largest state here in Malaysia, and it is located on the island of Borneo. Yes, I live in Malaysian Borneo, so things here are definitely a little bit different than in, for example, Kuala Lumpur or in Sabah or in Penang. So just keep that in mind. Now, my first pro about living here in Malaysia, I mean, there's so many pros. I really love living here. It is an easy place to live for foreigners. It is fairly easy to get a visa. You know, as a tourist, you can come down here and you get a 90-day visa, and even getting a long-term permit, whether it's a job, a work permit, or even a spouse permit. So if you're married to a Malaysian like I am, it is not that difficult to get a visa. Things take a little bit of time, but getting a visa is not too difficult if you know what to do, which place to go, which immigration department to figure these things out at. So it's not too difficult, but I'll get back to that later in one of my cons, because there is always a lot of paperwork. Now, it is also pretty easy to get money here. You know, there's ATMs everywhere, so there's no stress. There is good internet available almost everywhere, especially in the big cities. There's good internet, so even if you're a traveling nomad, or it's easy to get internet and to do your work here as a foreigner. And as you can see, I am at home right now, and I do a lot of my work, my videos, my editing at home. I do my emails at home because there's good internet, and come on, the weather is great. Now let me just move over to the first con in this video. The first con of living in Malaysia, which is shopping. I would say it's getting a good variety of international products at the supermarket. So I'm from the Netherlands, and supermarkets over there have basically everything. So if you need to do groceries for the week, you just go to one supermarket and you get from A to Z, you get all your products. Each product there would have different brands, like you have the affordable one, you have the high-end one. Here in Malaysia, or at least here in Kuching, it's a little bit different. I know that in Kuala Lumpur you have such supermarkets, and that's why every time I go to Kuala Lumpur, I love going to the supermarkets there. But here in Kuching and in many other smaller villages, smaller towns throughout Malaysia, it is quite difficult to get a good supermarket where you can buy all the products you want to buy. So if I'm looking for cheese, I will go to one supermarket where I know they have the good cheese and it's affordable. And then if I'm looking for bread, that would have to be maybe at one of the bakeries. If I'm looking to get fish for dinner or whatever for a barbecue, I have to go to a different place. So the one thing I would say is a bit of a con living here, or a bit of a difficult thing, is to find good international products and even local products in one spot. It's all about going from one place to another. And you know, when I was living in Miri all these years ago, our Sunday would just be grocery day. We would go to 4 or 5 different supermarkets to get the products that we needed. So it was a whole day of just doing groceries. So I would say that that is definitely one con. But again, it depends on where you are, and I guess depends on what kind of grocery shopping you do. Now, another pro about living in Malaysia is that the weather is always good here. We all know that Asian weather can be good, but here in Malaysia, especially here on Borneo, the weather is always good. It's always about 30 degrees, and For some, that might be a bit too hot, and sometimes it is also a little bit too hot for me, that even in the morning when I just put on my socks to go somewhere, I'm already sweating just by putting my socks on. It does rain here for a couple of months, a little bit more during the monsoon season here in Malaysia, but it doesn't rain all day and every day, and it might rain a little bit more in the morning and a little bit more in the evening, but generally the weather is always good. You might have a bit of a rain shower, you know, for half an hour during the day, but the weather is good. You could basically go to the beach every single day. You could go hiking every single day if that's what you like, or you could sit outside and have your lunch at a nice coffee shop while you enjoy the sun. So weather's always good here, but it's a little bit hot. It can get very hot here. As I mentioned earlier, it is pretty easy to live here as a foreigner if you know what to look for and what kind of paperwork you have to sort out. Now, one con is paperwork. Paperwork. The government here requires a lot of paperwork to get things done. For example, when I went for my spouse visa, I'm on a spouse visa here because my wife is Malaysian and therefore I can stay here in the country on this spouse visa. And there is a lot of paperwork. We need to prove every time when we apply, and now that's every 6 months I have to go to the immigration department and reapply or extend my visa. And I have to give them the same paperwork as I did last time. And that is a piece of paper from the lawyer where we both sign it claiming that we are still married. There is copies of passport pages, so many copies, and so much more. There's always a stack of paper that I have to deliver to the immigration department here every year. And I believe doing these things online would make things easier, but perhaps the Malaysian government isn't ready for that, hopefully in the future. Now, other things like getting a driving license. I got both my driving licenses here in Malaysia a couple years back. I got my motorcycle license here and my car license. And again, it was a lot of paperwork and funny requirements, and I had to sit for a theory class, which was in Bahasa Malaysia. It wasn't in English, and I was just asked just to sit there to, you know, get my attendance, get my hours. So sometimes a few little unusual rules here and definitely a lot of paperwork. But again, like I said, if you know where to look, if you know who to speak to, these things are not too difficult to sort out. So paperwork, which I guess is also similar in other countries. But if you know where to look, it's not that difficult. All right, next one on the list is another pro. It's a positive thing about living in Malaysia. And I think this is probably the most important reason for me to live here in Malaysia, and that is the people. I have done many videos with many people, and in many of my videos I have talked about the people here. The people are so amazing. People are so friendly here. People are welcoming and open. There's so many different kinds of people here. That is Sarawak, but it is Malaysia in general. People from so many different backgrounds, and there's so much culture, and with those cultures come different cuisines. It's all really nice how that kind of fits together in this country here, Malaysia. And even when my family comes down, these local friends make my family feel so welcome. Like my parents, my brother and his family, they love coming down here because the people are so nice. That's really it. The people are so nice here, and I don't know what else to say. The people are so nice. Well, that's a positive reason why I love living in Malaysia. Well, someone woke up. Everyone meet Mr. Milo. This is my son. He's 10 months old. And yeah, I thought, why not bring this little guy in and tell him about one more con. One thing we don't really like so much about living in Malaysia, but it's manageable, and that's roads. The roads, especially here in Malaysian Borneo, aren't that great sometimes. There's a lot of potholes here and there. Luckily, they are upgrading the roads a lot here, and maybe this is more of a Sarawakian thing, and I believe in Sabah the roads are also not that great compared to West Malaysia. Like I was in Kuala Lumpur a month ago, and the roads there, the highways were so smooth and so flat. So that is also Malaysia. Here in Borneo, not so flat, rather bumpy. But again, if you take it easy and don't rush on the road here, you'll get to your destination, and it's not that much of a nuisance. And I think Milo kind of likes it, because sometimes we're sitting in the car like that, and it's also not too bad. It's quite fun, right? So yeah, one con is maybe the roads here in Malaysia, right? Mm-hmm. All right, Milo, what should we talk about next? What should we tell them about that is good or bad or something we like or don't like about living in Malaysia? I think there's one thing that I like about living in Malaysia, one pro, which is the language. As I mentioned earlier, there's so many different kinds of people living here in Malaysia, so therefore they all kind of speak English because so many different tribes and people and backgrounds have different languages. So amongst their own communities, they perhaps speak a different language. Like here in Sarawak, there's a lot of different tribes, like the Gibbon, the Bidayu, the Kayan, the Kenya, and they all speak their own language. But once they speak amongst themselves with people from different areas and different backgrounds, they'll speak English. So over the 11 years that I've lived here, I only need to know English and I can do anything I want. I can go to the supermarket, I can order my food, I can travel, and everyone kind of speaks English. Of course, it's nice to know a little bit of the local language, which the local people are happy to teach you as well. So I'm teaching this guy Dutch. Very useful here in Malaysia to learn Dutch. Now he's going to learn Dutch, so he might have some, good outlook in the future. Of course, I want to speak Dutch to him. And he's going to learn English. I think he's going to learn some Chinese and whatever other language that comes up along the way, right? Yes. All right. On to the next topic. And for this next topic, I'll hold on to my little boy a little bit longer because this is all about living so very far away from my family. So my parents, my brother and his family, they live on the other side of the world in the Netherlands, and that is very far. It takes maybe 24 hours of travel to get there, so we don't see each other very often. Luckily, we're going to go back to Europe very soon, next month, so that's going to be exciting. But yeah, one con of living in Malaysia is being very far away from my family. So my parents were here when this little man was born for about 2 months, but now he's 10 months, and the past 8 months of this boy's life, he hasn't even seen his Dutch grandparents. And my brother, I haven't even met him for 4 years. But that was also to do with COVID. We're going to forget about that. And next month we're going to go back and see the whole Dutch family. So that's super exciting. But yes, definitely a con about living in Malaysia. And I guess living in a foreign country or any country away from your family. One con is being far away from your family. Okay, so another very good reason and definitely a pro of living here in Malaysia is the nature. And it's combined with, of course, the weather. The nature is so amazing here. Yes, even he likes it. When are we going for a hike again then? Soon. So the weather is good. That means you can enjoy the nature, you can enjoy the rainforest with these incredibly tall trees. There's waterfalls everywhere. There's beaches. And again, I talk from my experience living here in Sarawak, but this is throughout Malaysia. There are mountains, there are waterfalls, like I said, there are little streams where you can picnic at, and there's beautiful flowers, huge trees, and just so much beautiful nature here in Malaysia. Definitely a pro for anyone visiting or even living in Malaysia. Definitely a pro. Don't take the mic. So yeah, this was a little video from Global Gibbon at home because Big Gibbon has to take care of Little Gibbon today, but I thought I'd make this video anyways. I'm sorry I didn't upload a video last week because I was traveling for another film project, and the coming days I'll be doing that as well, so I don't have a lot of time, but I thought I'd make this video for you anyways. So to recap, there are a lot of pros and only a few cons about living in Malaysia. You trying to take my mic? Then the people can't hear me. So a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and all in all, I love living in Malaysia. It's amazing to have my little boy here, and I'm going to show him around all of Malaysia. I'm going to show him around Europe as well, but I think we'll always come back to Malaysia because we love it here so much. It's the weather, it's the people, it's the nature, the food, of course, and those cons of paperwork and maybe the roads not being so great. We'll all take that anyways. That's all part of life, right, Milo? Yes. All right, so this is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope it was a little bit helpful. Milo is starting to play. All right, I want to say thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching. And leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you again next week. All right, bye-bye. Doo-doo.